Hello and welcome, I'm Ken Gowdy. In this tutorial we will look at the two ways how you can put a reed on a mouthpiece and some of the things that you can do to make subtle changes to your tone. So keep watching. There are three concepts that we need to explore: reed preparation, reed placement and ligature placement. Reed preparation only applies to cane reeds. So if you're using a synthetic reed, a plastic reed or a plastic coated reed, this wouldn't apply. But if you're using a cane reed, you must moisten the cane reed. In order for the reed to vibrate freely, it works best when it is moistened. The way you can moisten it is either with saliva or with water. Now a cane reed has two parts. It has the vamp part, which is the part that goes into the mouth and vibrates, and it has the stock part, which is the part which is clamped down onto the mouthpiece by the ligature. You must moisten the vamp part, both sides of the vamp part. The easiest way to do this, if you're going to moisten it by saliva, is to stick it in your mouth, put it on one side, turn it over, moisten the other side of the vamp. So both sides of the vamp is actually moistened. Some musicians will also moisten the stock part. Obviously, if you're going to moisten it with water, then put it in a container of water. If you're just going to moisten the vamp part, then just stick the vamp part into the water. If you're going to moisten the whole reed, then put the whole reed into the water. Reed placement has to do with where you place the reed on the mouthpiece. Here is a mouthpiece, and indicated are the side rails of the mouthpiece. The side rails are the parts of the mouthpiece against which the reed will vibrate. When you place your reed on your mouthpiece, you want your reed to be parallel to these side rails. You want it to be in the middle of the side rails. You do not want it covering more of one side rail than the other, and you do not want it to be placed at an angle. So you want it to be in the middle of the side rails and parallel with the side rails. In addition to this, you want to adjust the tip of the reed so that it is in line with the tip of the mouthpiece. The best way to do this is to push down the reed, then adjust the tip of the reed so that it is just below the tip of the mouthpiece. You should be able to see a small portion of the mouthpiece above the reed. This means that when the reed is released, it will be in the correct position. Ligature placement has to do with where you place the ligature on the mouthpiece. Some mouthpieces will have a ligature line. If your mouthpiece has a ligature line, then place the ligature after that line. The closer you place the ligature to that line, the greater the resistance will be. The further away from that line that you place the ligature, the lesser the resistance will be. You need to find the best place for your type of playing, which might be in the middle. Now let's see these important concepts in practice. Now that we understand what to do, I will show you how I do it. I'm right-handed, so I take the mouthpiece with my right hand. The flat part of the reed goes on the flat part of the mouthpiece. I place my thumb of my right hand at the base of the reed to keep it in place. I'm also going to use that thumb to move the reed up and down when I test that the tip is in the correct position. On my left hand, I'm going to use this thumb and this finger to run up and down the reed, making sure that it's in the center of the side rails of the mouthpiece. If it's not, I'm going to apply pressure either with the thumb or with the finger to move it into position. So here I'm checking that it's in the correct position along the side rails. I'm using my thumb of my right hand to push the reed up. I'm going to press the reed down so I can see that line. The line is small enough for me. I'm going to check again that the reed is parallel with the side rails of the mouthpiece. I'm going to check the base, that the reed is in the correct position at the base. Again, checking the side rails, checking the tip. I'm happy with this. It's in place, it's secured with my thumb. So I now take the ligature. I'm going to be very careful to place the ligature over the reed because I don't want to hit the reed with the ligature because then I might damage it. I'm going to push the ligature down. I'm going to check that the ligature is in the correct position for me, which is round about here. The ligature is held in place with this finger. I'm also going to line up to make sure that it's parallel with this particular ligature. I'm looking at these two shapes to make sure they're in the correct position either side of the reed to make sure it lines up correctly. Again, I'm checking the side rails, I'm checking the tip. I'm happy with this position. So now I'm going to loosely tighten the ligature. Now it's loosely tightened, I can make some further adjustments. I'm going to check the base again, make sure that the reed is in the correct position. It's not too far over to one side. I'm going to check the side rails again by running my thumb and finger up, making sure it's in the correct position by feeling it. I'm going to press down the reed to make sure I can still see that black line at the top. I'm happy with this, so now I tighten it fully and this setup is now done. I'm right-handed, so I take the mouthpiece in my right hand. This time I'm going to put the ligature on first. So I take the ligature, slide it over the mouthpiece. I'm going to make sure that the ligature is further forward because I need enough space underneath it to slide the reed underneath. So I take the reed and now I'm going to slide it underneath the ligature. I'm going to put the reed round about in the correct position. Now I'm going to slide down the ligature into the correct position for myself. Now I'm going to check the reed to make sure that the reed is in the correct position. I'm checking the base of the reed. I'm using, again, my thumb and finger, sliding up the sides of the reed to make sure it's in the center and parallel with the side rails of the mouthpiece. I'm going to push the reed up a bit to make sure I can see that small line at the top, which I can. Again, I'm checking the side rails. I'm going to move that ligature around a bit so it's nicely in the center of the reed. I'm happy with the position of the ligature. I'm happy with the position of the reed. So now I loosely tighten the ligature. Going to make some final checks. I'm happy with this. So now I'm going to tighten it fully. And this setup is done. So now you know how to put a reed on the mouthpiece. It's either going to be reed first or ligature first. Which one you do is totally up to you. Obviously there's a lot more I can say. I'll probably leave that to another video. But obviously these are guidelines and you need to experiment to find and create your own sound. If you like this video, if it was informative, helpful, then obviously give it a like and leave some comments in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I'm going to upload a few more videos shortly. See you soon.